Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Dojo Live. Today is Monday, May 17th, 2021, and this is the recap show. I'm Tulio Sirgusa, broadcasting from Southern California, joined today by Kim Lanton, Mexico, and Carlos Ponce in Cuernavaca, Mexico.
Peace.
Welcome back, guys. We have a new week. So just want to say up front, before we start the recap, this week we are going to do something a little bit different on Dojo Live. We're doing a little planning as a team. So we're not going to be broadcasting live, but we're going to be rebroadcasting at 12 o'clock Pacific every day of the week except for Friday. Some oldies but goodies. And that's going to actually start today with a special rebroadcast at 3 p.m. It's a special time today because today is World Internet Day. So what better way to celebrate World Internet Day than to broadcast the show we had with none other than Vince Cerf, who is the co-founder of the TCP/IP protocol, which actually makes the internet work. So he is officially one of the co-founders of the internet. So
And don't forget that he's said to have inspired the architect of the Matrix. Remember
Absolutely. And we talked about that on the show, which is he's got an uncanny resemblance. He's now the chief internet evangelist at Google. So check it out. You know, the term surf the web came from Vince Cerf. So there you go. Check it out today at 3 p.m. So let's recap last week. We had one show last week. That was with Sri Ganesan, who is the co-founder of RocketLane. And we talked about reimagining CX, reimagining the customer experience by putting the customer in the driver's seat. So one would think, well, you know, isn't part of the customer experience putting the customer in the driver's seat? Yes. However, determining when that happens is always tricky, right? Some people think, well, you start the customer experience at the time of the implementation with a customer during the onboarding process. Some say, well, it kind of starts from the time you actually start talking to them when they're a prospect. Some say it happens after the onboarding is completed. Nonetheless, the critical piece to enabling a customer to become a customer is the onboarding process. It's the step for which you go from selling a client to actually turning them into an ongoing customer. And they've developed some awesome tools to facilitate that, right? Because you might have a super amazing project manager who knows how to do this, who's done this many, many times. But if you're in a growing company, a growing software company, you might have some newbies that may not have that kind of experience. So having some tools that can enable them to be more effective in onboarding clients is going to be critically important. And those tools just didn't exist years ago. So they're available now. So I really enjoyed speaking with him and learning about how these platforms can eliminate some of the friction and some of the issues that come up by involving the customer in the process. They actually have visibility into the onboarding and the methodologies being used so that they're participants, not just recipients. What did you guys think?
Well, in my case, I really like the idea of Sri having chosen the word reimagining as opposed to more traditional terms like rethinking or more, that will be more inclined towards the strategic side. I think reimagining brings about that touch of humanity to the whole process, because I think that as you get customers' feedback, you get not only into the data but also into the mindset of the people, of the person, of the customer, who at the end of the day is a human being, a person, right? So I think that I just like the word reimagining. It kind of reminds me of Disney's Imagineers, when they think of things that don't even exist, and they bring it to fruition, to reality. I think it sort of gives me that vibe of including the creative process into building and the onboarding and actually solidifying the relationship with the customer. That's what I think. So what do you think, Kim?
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. And I think part of what RocketLane is doing is a really important piece of any customer experience, and that's consistency, right? Where it helps you maintain a consistent onboarding experience and beyond for your entire user base, which is important, especially if you want to think big, like in terms of, let's say, franchise. If in theory, if I go to McDonald's here in Hermosillo, or if I go to McDonald's in Southern California or in Cuernavaca, just outside of Mexico City, right? It's going to be
just north of.
North of, right? It's going to be, there's going to be this familiarity. Things are going to taste the same, feel the same, look the same, perhaps slight differences, right, with culture and things like that. But the idea of consistency, and I think consistency is key in what's making any company more successful, right? So once you find what works well for you, that you can reiterate and keep, doing that, it works out well. And so I think RocketLane is a tool that's going to help companies be successful at the very start of when it's, I think, even more important to establish, right? As we all know, one poor experience, you don't come back. And then as people, we're more likely to share that bad experience than we are, unfortunately, to share that positive experience. So you don't want that. You want more and more and more positive experiences as you're growing your clientele. So I thought that was important. Consistency.
I like where you went with this idea of imagining, Carlos, because we often go straight to what's the best practice? How do we adopt the best practices? You get right to the brass tacks. What's the block and tackle best way to do this? And I'm guilty of that too. It's like, let's just figure out how to do this right, perfectly, excellent, and it's like, take a step back and use your imagination a little bit. Maybe think of another way of doing it. Like the idea of involving the client and getting them in dwelled into the process. That's a reimagined way of doing things, right? You're getting them to be in the driver's seat. How about you put them in charge of their implementation? It is, after all, their implementation, right? So I love this idea of using more imagination, the human aspect of things, to get things done.
The imagination of how to make a digital experience a more human experience, which is what we have all been needing over this past year and a half.
Oh, yeah.
Right, but
we all hear you, Ken.
It's funny, we use this term digital experience so much, but the whole intent of it is to make it more human. It's to humanize the experience. It's to personalize the experience. The whole purpose of technology is to make it look more and more like the old village, but at scale, right? In order it be able to serve each individual in a customized and personalized way, which requires a lot of digitization, a lot of technology, AI, all these things that we can bring to bear to make that possible. But it's really about humanizing the experience, is it? I mean, it's interesting.
And World Internet Day, what's more human than that? Like, how amazing is it that the entire world literally can be connected?
It's intergalactic now. Astronauts use it in space. It's not even just on this planet. I mean, I remember talking to Vint, and he was like, my goal now is to get the internet to be intergalactic. And I was like, that's kind of crazy. But if you think about it, there's a mission to Mars. They got internet connection. There's astronauts on satellites. The internet is no longer just on the planet. It's intergalactic. So anyway, check it out.
The connectivity is bad here in Hermosillo, Sonora. I can't imagine the International Space Station. Stupid Wi-Fi.
I don't know how they make it work, but somehow they ping it, they make it work somehow. But it just goes to show that the waves that make all those connections happen have been existing way longer than cell phones and everything else. They've been around since the beginning of time. We just learned how to tap into them. So anyway, we're up on time, guys. So 3 o'clock today, 3 p.m. Pacific. Check it out. It's a great show with Vince Cerf. He's a great guest. He's like a national treasure. Check him out. I had the pleasure of working with him almost 30 years ago. So 3 o'clock, and then tomorrow at 12 p.m. and every day except Friday, we'll surprise you with a new show. An oldie but goodie.
Oldie but goodie. There you have it.
All right. See you guys soon. Stay safe.
Stay safe, everyone. Thank you.